All right, everybody. Settle on in, get to your seats. Welcome back to class. Hello, it is I, Professor Underhill. Hello. Good to see everybody again. I hope that you're all ready, prepared to learn. I know it's been a little bit since our last time in the classroom, but hopefully everybody is here and ready to go. Hello, hi. Hello. Hello, sir. Hello to you too. Hello. I hope you're all prepared, brought the correct notebooks. We will be going over Shipping 101 for today's lecture, as I'm sure that you are all very well aware of. Get your pens, get everything nice and ready, and we're gonna go ahead and take some roll call, real quick roll call. So when you hear your name, please just go ahead and hit me with a present. Natalie, Drake, Garcia, Kayla, Leon, Elsie, Shell, Starlight, Witty, and I believe this is... Oh, no, I lied. Smeart Uvi, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Metropolitan, hello. Margot. Citrina, hello. Matt, hello. There we are. Hopefully everybody is present and ready to learn. Welcome, and that's what you get for being here in the in the waiting room. You're called upon for roll call. Class is fun. You're allowed to drink and smoke, and the teacher just gives you a big thumbs up. Yeah, I would if I had my hands. Still can't. I think the program I use for my hands isn't working. Anyway, that's out of kayfabe. Very naughty. We're supposed to be in a classroom right now. But yes, did anybody have any questions regarding today's lecture? Is everybody aware of what it is that we will be going over? Any thoughts, concerns? I will say any particular questions regarding the subject matter. We will have a Q&A portion at the end where I will be answering any questions that you might have in regards to our lovely program that we will be going through. Unplug and replug the hand tracker attached to your presentation board. That usually does. I've tried everything. It unfortunately will not work. Will this only be about VTuber shipping or shipping in general? VTuber shipping will definitely be something we cover in Shipping 102. Shipping 102, shipping VTubers. Or the ethical quandary of shipping VTubers, I think we'll call it. Because that's enough of a topic in and of itself to be its own thing. Like, that's advanced shipping. And that's something. Multi-shipping is also. I'll get this. I'll get ahead of this very quickly. Multi-shipping, OT3s, like polycules, polyamory in general is something that we will more discuss in an advanced shipping. We are almost done with all the 101 courses that I want to teach, which is kind of crazy. Because we've done Dark Academia. I believe we've already done VTubing 101. So we've done VTubing 101, Dark Academia 101. Is that it? Actually, wait, is that it? I thought, no, we did Wrestling 101, didn't we? No, we didn't. No, we didn't do Wrestling 101. We might have to do Wrestling 101 at some point. BL 101. BL is something that we will cover as we go. Wait, did I do a BL 101? See, now I forgot. We've had so many lectures that I've forgotten now. And let me check. Let me check the playlist here, because even I kind of don't remember. Ethan, thank you for the 1 month. That's very sweet. Thank you. So no, we've as of right now, we've definitely talked about some of these subjects in relation to other subjects, but we have only so far done Dark Academia 101 and VTubing 101. So this is the third of our 101 courses. We're going to start doing 102s soon. Dark Academia 102, Advanced Dark Academia will cover more, we'll dive a bit more into the basics, and we'll dive a little bit deeper into the secret history and the themes and stuff like that. So that'll be one. VTubing 102 is also another one that people have asked for, and I will be covering that. We will be doing VTubing 102. I might have some guest lecturers join me for that one. I think that might be fun. And then, yeah, Wrestling 101 I think could be a lot of fun. I definitely need a Wrestling 101 since my friend's really into it. I feel like, yeah, Wrestling 101. May I request a Kingdom Hearts 101 for consideration? We may have to do Kingdom Hearts 101 just because I know Kingdom Hearts, for a lot of people, is kind of daunting to get into, and especially with, pardon me, with missing X, or missing key, or whatever you want to call it, around the corner. We do have to get into that eventually. Any other questions? Any other questions you have, your professor, before we get in? These are, like, probably my favorite streams that we do, just as a heads up. These are so fun to do. I love doing these. Lord of the Rings 101. If I did a Lord of the Rings 101, I would more than likely do a Middle-earth 101. Because that one, I think if it's Middle-earth 101, it's a little bit, like, we can cover the broad strokes and then go into each individual story in, like, Middle-earth 102, The Hobbit, Middle-earth 103, Lord of the Rings, you know, 104, Silmarillion, stuff like that. We can absolutely do that. That is an absolutely, we could totally do that. If I might break kayfabe here for a bit, if I might break the professor gimmick for a little bit. This will be my falling asleep ASMR today. I got you, Essie. I got you. And thank you for the wonderful thumbnail art, by the way. Everyone, if you think that I'm super hot in the thumbnail, that's all Essie. Because Essie drew me hella hot. But yeah, if I might break kayfabe a little bit here. So yesterday we talked a little bit during the Game of Sisyphus stream about how doing streams the way that I've been doing and content the way I've been doing is definitely weird. I think since my surgery I've been kind of off. Like it was a forced, like I was essentially forced into like not making content for a while, and it's been very difficult for me to get back into like the rhythm of it. And it's definitely hurting the channel, and I can feel it. So I thought we were getting Sexy Hill as a substitute. I mean, that'd be pretty crazy. That'd be one hell of a model. You are very welcome, and thank you. Thank you, Essie, thank you. But since the surgery, it's definitely been weird. And I know that. I know that you know that, and I want you to know that I know that. I will get back to video content soon. I think it's one of those things. I had a friend say this, and I think it's very apt, that it's one for you and one for them. And I think the videos where we hype up VTubers, I prefer doing it on stream, but I'm realizing that might be better suited to video content, so that's like the one for you. And then streams like this, this is the one for me. Because this is fun. I like being the professor, you know. I like the Dark Academia vibes of these streams, so. But yeah, so I just want you to know that the whole, like, these agency VTubers are fabulous, like, those types of videos are going to be coming back, and they're going to be maybe every 2 to 3 days. So you're going to get multiple videos a week again from me. But I do want to, like, also lean into streaming as well, because I have a lot more fun streaming than I do making videos. Vivi, thank you so Vivi, thank you so much for the memby, the gifted memby. Thank you. Thank you for letting us know that you know that we know. Yeah, everybody, we all know. Take things one day at a time. I'm gonna take it like very like I don't want to like burn myself out. I don't want to, you know, bum myself out. I've been having a headache all day because I've been playing old PS2 games all last night and all this morning, and I didn't drink any water or sleep much at all. So I am having a little bit of a headache. So if I seem a little bit off, that's why. But yeah, last second questions before we get into things. Any questions you have for your professor before we dive into our lecture for today? Any interesting comments? Any interesting questions? No such thing as a stupid question, by the way. Remember, your health comes first. I will attempt to remember that. I make no promises. And I will try to rest afterwards as well. Will we be getting homework? Your homework will be to go enjoy a ship you like without anyone being angry with you, nor you being weird towards anyone else. That is your homework. Just be good people. That's my homework to you, is be good people. Be good people and ship responsibly. Extra credit for signing up for AO3. Yes, I will give you extra credit if you read a fan fiction tonight. If you read a fan fiction tonight about your favorite ship, that's extra credit right there. Ship responsibly. Ship responsibly is probably one of the wildest phrases, but it's very apt. Difficulty impossible. Hot damn, I get extra credit by default. Hey, there you go. There you go. About to pass class on extra credit alone. What is a toxic ship that you low-key support? Ask me that again at the end. Because that's a good, like, cue. That one I'm going to save for the end, because I can think of a few, but, like, that one I want to save for after we've gotten into it, so you guys have kind of an idea of where we're going to be going. So that's a really good question, Matt. Hang on to that one. Hang on to that one, and I'll answer that one at the end. All right. What if we draw a ship what if I draw a ship that I like? Will can I get extra credit? That still qualifies as extra credit in my mind. I've never been excited to have homework. Well, yeah, like there's a first for everything. All right, so let me pull up the lecture. All right, everybody get to your seats, settle down. It's officially time for us to dive into today's lecture. You should do a Q&A thing. YouTube has so people can leave questions throughout the stream for the end. That's a great idea. That's an excellent idea, Natalie. Hang on. Natalie, extra credit for Natalie. Start a Q&A. So, leave your questions here. Oh, this is perfect. Oh, okay, so it actually gives me like a separate... Oh, that's so lovely. Okay, that's very nice. It gives me like a separate questions area so I can like see them all. Excellent. Okay, so that way I'm not missing out on questions. All right. Throws chair out the window. Also, I do not have a chair. Sorry, I came in late, Professor. You're all good, Jane. You're all good. Alrighty. So, with that said, let us go ahead and dive into today's lecture. Welcome, everybody, to Shipping 101. This is a lecture by your humble professor, Professor Underhill. We will be going over the basics of shipping, getting into some very simple shipping etiquette and some ship dynamics, which is something we will also get into. If you don't know what that is, again, this is the best course for you to start. This is exactly where you'd want to be. So, before we begin, very important to note that there is going to be spoilers for the following series. Alien Stage, Avatar, not the one with the blue cats, Banana Fish, Cardcaptor Sakura, Doctor Who, Dragon Ball Z, The Dragon Prince, Fruits Basket, Haikyuu, Icebreaker, Kingdom Hearts, My Hero Academia, Nana, Sailor Moon, The Silmarillion, The Song of Achilles, Tsubasa Reservoir Chronicles, Wotakoi, and Yona of the Dawn. They will be light spoilers. It's not major plot spoilers in most cases, but there is probably some spoilery stuff that you may not want to know. I'm happy to see I'm happy to see some Doctor Who hype. That makes me happy. And yeah, Tsubasa Chronicles is also here as well. Clamp in general. Clamp we'll probably get into Clamp more in in Fujoshi 101 or BL 101. I don't know what we're gonna call it yet, but Clamp is very vital in that in that category. But yeah, so those are the spoilers. So if you know, just so you know, it's not gonna be like major holy shit spoilers, but it is still some spoilery stuff regarding some characters and some ships and stuff like that that you may not want to know about. So, in regards to Shipping 101, it is of course important to really dive into the first major question. What is shipping? Well, shipping is the act of enjoying interactions between two fictional characters. The medium in this case is irrelevant, as characters from just about anything can be shipped. Let's see. The term shipping or ships comes from the word relationship, as in you like to see that particular relationship. So when people say like, what is shipping? I don't understand, like, where did the term come from? It comes from the word, like the root word relationship. You like to see that relationship on screen. You like to see that ship. You ship them. You like that relationship. So when you say I ship it or I ship them, it's somebody saying that they like these two particular characters together and they like their dynamic together. Typically, this is in a romantic sense. Not always, but again, that's more advanced shipping. We'll get into that in Shipping 102 or Shipping 103. Because shipping isn't always romantic, but in regards to the basics, it is typically speaking seen as a romantic thing. So just so you know, right? Like, not every ship is always romantic, but in some cases it can be friendship, but most of the time it is people are speaking in a romantic sense. Never realized we made a verb out of the word relationship. It's true. That's where it comes from. Yeah. Next question is why? Why do people like shipping? People often enjoy shipping characters because it's just fun to see characters you enjoy interact. It's honestly not that deep, and I don't fully understand why people ask this question so much. I often see shippers get made fun of or harassed or stuff like that, and I don't fully get it. It feels like it comes from a mean-spirited place. I can say, as growing up as a boy, growing up as like a masculine person, I didn't typically, the things that I liked were not typically like made fun of in quite the same way that it was for my friends who were more femme, right? Like my feminine friends and myself, I, like, as you guys can probably tell, I am quite feminine. Feminine interests tend to get looked down on, I suppose. And so I feel like shipping is seen as very much a feminine way of engaging with media, and so it is often looked down upon, even though it doesn't really make sense and there's nothing really feminine or masculine about shipping. You just like seeing two characters interact together. So I don't really get it. I feel like it just kind of, when people make fun of shipping, to me, it just personally comes from a place of like cruelty. Can people take shipping too far? Yes, but people can take sports too far. People can take all fandom too far. People could take video games too far. People could take anime too far. People could take VTubing too far. I could keep going. You know, like, I don't really think it's fair to just zero in on one subsect. Like, because it feels like it's coming from a really gross place, and I don't like to see that. Was very much made fun of for shipping Edward and Bella when I was young. See, that's like, okay, I do kind of want to do a Twilight 101 because I do have a lot to say about Twilight. Maybe we'll do like a YA thing, but yeah, oftentimes, like, I feel like a lot of, and I'm the same. Like, I was very shitty towards Twilight when it came out, and it was misogyny. Like, it came from, and it doesn't make me a bad person. It doesn't make anybody who disliked Twilight a bad person, but it comes from a place of making fun of something strictly because it's made for a more feminine audience, right? Like, we don't make fun of, say, the Expendables, right? Even though that was very much made for a masculine audience and is just as stupid. But I love them both, you know? Like, they are all silly, but, like, I think that it usually comes from a place of making fun of things that, like, a feminine demographic would like, and it just feels kind of uncool. Spent more time on this slide than I thought we would. It's about as serious as debating if X character could beat Y character. That's exactly it. Like, we can't be making fun of shipping if we're not also going to, in turn, like, poke fun at power scaling. I like both of those things, for the record. Anyway, moving on. How do people ship characters? So you now know what shipping is. You know why people ship. But how you wanna like see how people engage in shipping? Well, there are many ways that people might engage in shipping their favorite characters, and some of these things might include drawing fan art. I know we got some artists here in the chat right now, and members of the parliament, or should I say in the classroom right now. See, even I'm failing to stay in kayfabe. We have members of the parliament and members of the classroom who are artists and typically will draw fan art. I know we have a lot of fans of a certain rainbow clock company. And a lot of you guys have seen many fan art of the different members of Niji Sanji together, right? So drawing fan art is a huge one. Fan fiction, writing fan fiction is a very big one. I would say that it's almost as big, if not even bigger, than fan art in some regards. And the reason why I say that is because I feel like people will judge how popular a ship is based off how many stories its tag has on AO3. Again, I didn't really get into AO3. That's kind of a topic for another day. But if you don't know what AO3 is a website called Archive of Our Own, and it is a website where people write fan fiction, and it has the ability to sort stories by not only tags of like kind of tropes, but also ships. And so people will often talk about like, oh, well, this ship has this many, like back in the day when I was the shipping professor on TikTok, I had a lot of people either get mad or agree with me based off what I said, and would often use statistics from AO3 as their example, right? I will say a ship becomes more legit depending on how much fan art and fan fiction we see, but it's not just these two, because there is also, this one has always been there, but I've noticed the skill required is improving dramatically, and I think that a certain app that may or may not be banned soon is directly responsible for this, that being edits. Creating edits. Back in my day, this was called an AMV or a GMV. game music video or an anime music video, not gay, game music video, a game music video or an anime music video, but now typically referred to as edits. These are also a really cool way to show your sport. I can't draw, and I have an inability to write good fiction, so I tended to create edits for ships or series or characters that I liked. I was like an edit guy, but we called them AMVs back in the day. CMVs, those cosplayers were holding the trenches. Dude, CMVs, CMVs, if you don't know, cosplay music videos, that was where a lot of the most like hardcore fandom could be found. As an example, if you're a Kingdom Hearts fan and I were to say Demyx time, that's going to trigger memories for a lot of you. The fact that we're now getting a live-action Kingdom Hearts just makes me think of Demyx time. But yeah, Demyx time was a series of cosplay videos where they were in character, and it was a lot of shipping stuff. It was very... The Organization 13 is very much like a shipping, a Fudanshi shipper's paradise. But yes, so creating edits was also a very big deal even back then. But I feel has only really improved with time. Am I allowed to curse in class? Because holy fuck the memories. You are allowed to curse in class, yes. You are allowed to curse, that is fine. But yeah, the biggest honor I've had as an edit maker was when cosplayers recreated an edit that I made set to the music from Rent. Oh, get out, that's so cool. I watched so many with Mikayu. Save that thought. But Mikayu was a huge ship from back in the day. So you now know your how. How do you ship? Why do people ship? And what is shipping? Now let's go ahead. This is where we're gonna, again, we're still in the basics of shipping, but we are going to dig a little bit deeper into things here. So we're going to be going over the typical types of ships that you might see. So there are multiple types of relationships when it comes to shipping, right? There's multiple types. Think like Pokemon, you know, there's fire types and grass types, and in shipping it's kind of similar, but it's not fire and grass. These are also occasionally referred to as shipping tropes. Fun fact, I believe this is actually where TV tropes got a lot of its start, is either shipping tropes or in some circles, ship dynamics. I prefer dynamics, but I know a lot of people do prefer shipping tropes. And these will give a viewer a general idea of what they can expect from the ship. In fact, a lot of not even fan fiction, just genuine fiction that you find in bookstores are often labeled as a like blank story, right? Oh, this book is like childhood friends. This book is blah, blah, blah. Like this book is XYZ, right? Like that type of thing. This is becoming more and more common to describe a story. So shipping is kind of like taking a precedent. Started to keep wrestling tropes. It is, yeah, so TV tropes started off as a wrestling thing. And then it evolved to shipping thing, and then it became like just general fiction thing. Once they started going into a general fiction thing, most of TV tropes is like very heavily like shipping. But it did start, yeah, as a wrestling thing. Because if you don't know, wrestling has a lot of lingo to it. But again, that's for a different day. So, some of these tropes that we are going to discuss, these are not every single type of ship. This is just some ships that, these are just some ship dynamics that I feel tend to come up the most, and the ones that people tend to talk about the most. There are others, but these are the ones that I tend to see the most. So I figured might be good to go over some of these more basic ones in Shipping 101. So we have childhood friends. This is a very, very common one. The childhood friend turned lovers is like a very common trope in fiction. Late to class, but so far very nice coverage. Thank you. Next up we have rivals to lovers, which I tend to very much prefer to childhood friends. I actually really don't like that trope. But yeah, rivals to lovers is usually very fun, very good. Keeping in vein with that, we of course have enemies to lovers. This is where the true angst lies. I myself lie somewhere in the middle, where I prefer a good old rivals to lovers. Enemies to lovers can get a little bit angsty, a little bit intense. We have the grumpy one / the soft one. This is one that is a more recently coined ship dynamic, where you have your grumpy person A and soft person B, and the soft person, like, lets the grumpy one put their guard down, and the grumpy one protects the soft one from the world. Cyborg, ayo. Let's see. Next up, reincarnation. Reincarnation is one that I do see. It's funny, as I said before, I wrote these down because these are the ones that I tend to see the most, and yet, of course, when it came down to it, it was kind of hard to think about certain, like, these tropes. But I feel like reincarnation is often found in fairy tales and, like, magical girl anime and more magical type stories. Like, you'll often find reincarnation, but not always. And the last one that I feel is important to talk about, if I can move my big dumb head out of the way, doomed couple / doomed yaoi, because of course. Andre, thank you for the 5 gifted memberships. Thank you very much. And you just got yourself extra credit. You got yourself extra credit. Thank you very much. Thank you, Andre. If you just got a membership from Andre, be sure to say thank you. That one is very popular lately. Yeah, so the reason why I wrote doomed couple / doomed yaoi is something that we will get into as we go. And for anybody who's wondering why not doomed yuri, again, we'll get into it when we get there. But I figured now would be a good time to give you some examples to really dive in and dissect some of these different ship dynamics. So, childhood friends, this is when two characters have known each other for years, and it is occasionally one-sided. Those are the worst ones. But yes, childhood friends, I'm not a big fan. I won't pretend to preach Professor Owlman. Thank you. No, we will not be talking about Wincest in this house. But yeah, childhood friends, I am not a fan. I can't pretend, or I can't hide my my bias on this one. Nor have I ever really hid my bias in general, when you think about it. Despite how many times people will claim that I do. Only childhood friends one I liked is Percy and Annabeth. Ash Ketchum and Misty from Pokemon. Well, there are some examples that we have here. So some examples could include the Doctor and the Master from Doctor Who. For those of you who don't know, Doctor Who is a series about a race of beings called the Time Lords, but more specifically, it is focused around one Time Lord named the Doctor. And he is essentially the last of his kind, at least in the I say new, but in the 2005 restart of the series. He is the last of his kind, save for one person, that being his childhood best friend, the Master, who is a bastard. The Master is, you could argue that it almost has like an element of enemies to lovers, but they started off as friends. It's not something that they always dive into that heavily, unfortunately. I wish they would do that more often, but the Doctor and the Master do have quite the seasoned history. And they were friends. They were good friends. Baku Deku is one of my favorites. You're going to possibly be irritated as we go. Because I don't consider Baku Deku childhood friends. That was not a friendship in my opinion. But again, we'll get into it. But yeah, that's where we stand with Doctor Who. Next we have Nanami and Hirotaka from Wotakoi. So if you haven't seen Wotakoi, this is not really a spoiler. The Doctor Who one is kind of a spoiler. Again, that's why I gave the spoiler warning. But the Wotakoi one is kind of a spoiler, also kind of not. Hirotaka had a crush on Nanami when they were kids. Nanami just kind of saw Hirotaka as Hirotaka. They get older. Hirotaka is working at the same company as Nanami, and they end up becoming... they have like a little office romance, and it's very cute. But they grew up as friends. Vague spoiler here. I believe the first cover... or no, I don't remember if it's the first cover or the last cover or something like that. But it's the either the first or in last volume or something like that. I forget what it is, but there is covers for the manga where it's Nanami and Hirotaka laughing together in present as adults, and then the last cover I think is them laughing together as kids. So it shows like kind of the full circle element, that aspect of their relationship, which I think is very cute. And Yona and Hawk from Yona of the Dawn. Yona and Hawk have a they are friends. But they're kind of goofballs when they're kids, and their relationship obviously gets very complicated as Yona of the Dawn goes on, and the story really kicks off. Again, spoilers, but Yona, this is like episode, I think like 1 or 2, but Yona's life is essentially flipped upside down, and Hawk has, fulfilling the last wish of her father, protects Yona from there on out. Season 2, please. I don't know if that's ever happening, but it sure would be cool. Another one we got here. Yuki and Haru from Fruits Basket. So Yuki is often in the flashbacks for Fruits Basket seen as sort of othered. And Haru, at first, really doesn't like Yuki. But they end up kind of getting along over time, and Haru becomes Yuki's first real friend in the series. Like the first one that he makes, like not like in the actual timeline of the show, not in like the order of the series, like the episode order of the series. And while obviously this one isn't canon, like you'll find that a lot of the examples I give, half are canon, half aren't. Canon in shipping is kind of irrelevant anyway, and again, that's something we can get into another time. Rivals to lovers. 2 characters who have a competitive nature to their relationship, sometimes friendly, many times not. The way I still ship him more with Haru to this day, I still very much ship like Yuki Haru. That's still my go-to. Some examples of rivals to lovers can include Shadow and Sonic, a classic. This is true. Katsuki Bakugo and Izuku Midoriya from My Hero. This being, obviously Bakugo and Deku from My Hero. Bakugo, if you read the manga, because I kind of forget where we are. I think, like in terms of the anime, I forget where we're at. But Bakugo essentially kind of resents Deku a little bit. Back in the J, there's a little bit of resentment there, and Deku just wants Bakugo to like him, you know? And not like romantically, but obviously if you're shipping it, then romantically. And Bakudeku fans have every right. I give them full reign because, yeah, the series does really like to ship these two. Even if Horikoshi's not intending it, I can see it. I don't personally ship it myself. I have other ships that I prefer for these two. But I get it. I do get it. This is one that I definitely understand, and I do think very much fits the rivals to lovers example very well. Of course, another good example is Hinata and Kageyama from Haikyuu. Hinata and Kageyama start as rivals. They're on opposite. The first time they meet, they're on opposite teams, and then they are forced to work together. And their rivalry is the thing that propels them forward throughout the show. That's not even like shipping headcanons. That's just overt canon. And that's just how shonen is. It's true. So they definitely start as rivals, but unlike like Bakugo and Deku, it doesn't take that long for you to start to see the genuine bond begin to really take root there, and it's less rivals, more lovers towards the end of the series. Again, obviously not in canon, but you know, you get it. Sora and Riku from Kingdom Hearts. So I was very split on this at first. I was initially going to put these two in childhood friends. But Stella's the one who points out that like rivals can still be friendly. And in Sora and Riku's case, they are very much friends, but they do it's a bond that like their friendship, and of course in the case of shipping, Riku's relationship, the love between Sora and Riku is something that like the series continues to evolve and push and really dissect and look into as the series goes on. But when it starts off, yeah, like they actually are kind of rivals competing for Kairi. Which if you're me, you just prefer to throw them into a little bit of an OT3 just to make everything, you know, make sense, because how can you dislike any of those three? Leonid, thank you for the gifted Bemby. Thank you. It sort of fits both in this case. Yeah, this is one of those cases where like there is a bit of crossover between childhood friends and rivals to lovers. And yeah, Sora and Riku definitely fit kind of in that bubble. Enemies to lovers. Two characters, typically the protagonist and the antagonist, but not always. Where one is heroic while the other is villainous. Some examples can include Bulma and Vegeta from Dragon Ball Z. People love Bulma and Vegeta, and it's usually because we talk about how Bulma and Vegeta are like so sweet, and Vegeta loves Bulma so much. Like it's actually very adorable. Like his love for Bulma is the thing that actually makes him stronger than Goku at times, and it's just a very sweet relationship. I love these two. But it is important to remember that we were introduced to Vegeta when he sent a plant monster to blow up Bulma's boyfriend at the time. And then Bulma cheated on said exploded man with Vegeta. We don't talk about that a lot, but that is what happened. But yeah, like Bulma and Vegeta come from even at the beginning, their relationship is still very bitter. Like it still feels like the song "Hate That I Love You." Like, and I hate how much I love you so. Like, that's a song about them, you know? Well, you lose some, you win some. Exactly. Yeah, you lose some, you win some. But that song is very much like the beginning of Bulma and Vegeta's relationship. And now they're like the most adorable couple in the show, I'd argue. At the time, it looked like maybe Gohan and Videl might be the sweetest couple in the show. But no, it's definitely Bulma and Vegeta. It was just awkward flirting. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I exploded your boyfriend. Now you don't have one. Guess who's single? All right, Vegeta, relax. But yeah. So yeah, here's another one that you could put in rivals to lovers, but again, I was talking with Stella, and Stella kind of convinced me to put this into enemies to lovers. And while I do love Cardcaptor Sakura, I watched it as it was released in Canada under the name Cardcaptors, so my understanding of the show is very different. But Sakura and Shaoran in Cardcaptor Sakura, they are very much like they're both after the Cloud cards, but they are not getting along in the beginning of the show. And over time, that eventually subsides, and they eventually become very, very cute. Personally, prefer them in Tsubasa Reservoir Chronicles because of the angst, but this is also very cute. One of the few cute examples of enemies to lovers, I think. Rayla and Callum from the Dragon Prince. If you've seen Dragon Prince, it's from the same creators as Avatar, The Last Airbender, and I actually prefer it to Avatar. It's more my speed. It's also a genre that I prefer. And Rayla and Callum they start off as essentially, like, not just enemies, they're on opposite ends of a war. So Rayla and Callum, I forget their name, like Raylum, or I forget it's a little close to Raylo, which I did not put on here, I don't think. That's surprising. But yeah, Rayla and Callum, literally, like, on opposite ends of a war when the series begins. Speaking of opposite ends of a war, Zuko and Katara. I don't even like Avatar like that, and even I think that this was the obvious and correct ship, but I will keep that to myself. Zuko and Katara start off on opposite ends of a war, much like Rayla and Callum. Again, Dragon Prince just correcting all of the mistakes of Avatar. Correct! Thank you. But yeah, Zuko and Katara, as an enemy, definitely represent that sort of enemies to lovers dynamic in fiction, and I think they do it very well. And again, I've only seen clips that Stella has shown me, and I've seen the fight, obviously, with Zuko and his sister like 1,000 times, because it's like one of the coolest fights ever made. But yeah. Grumpy One and the Soft One. Fairly self-explanatory. This is a ship dynamic where one is usually irritated while the other is usually sweet. And some examples could include Toru Honda and Kyo Soma from Fruits Basket. If you've seen Fruits Basket, you'll know that this is like pretty much like this ship dynamic was essentially made for Toru and Kyoru, if you will. They are like the grumpy soft one dynamic, and arguably the relationship holds the entire show on its back. Not to say that like that's the only reason to watch Fruits Basket, but that is like the core at a lot of points in the show. And as like I don't usually like canon ships because I typically find them boring, but this is probably like the canon ship to me. This is like, yep, they nailed it. Everything about it is perfect. 10 out of 10. Loved it, loved it, loved it. Another good example is Anastasia and Nate from Icebreaker. I know not everybody in this classroom likes to read recreationally, so I won't dwell too long on this, but if you've ever heard of Icebreaker, it is about a preppy, quite rude figure skater by the name of Anastasia Steele, I believe is her name. And Nate Hawkins, the sort of lighthearted but very caring captain of the ice hockey team. So they both have a connection to a ice rink, but obviously view it very differently. Anastasia is very grumpy, very focused on what she wants to do. She is a fun person. She's still lighthearted, but between the two, she is the one who puts up the most barriers around herself, whereas Nate is the one who tries his best to sort of take those barriers down. Icebreaker is very good. You should read it. You should also know that it is very smutty, though. This is a smutty book, despite what the cover of the book might lead you to believe. It's cute smut. It is very cute and very funny, but it is very much like very raunchy at times. So just so you know. Another good example, and this is the one that I think might upset people, but this is the ship I actually prefer for both of these characters. Bakugo and Uraraka from My Hero. Bakugo's the only person in the show. I think, like I was gonna say in season 2, but honestly, I've read the manga, I watched the show. In my opinion, he's still the only one that takes her quite seriously, and doesn't view her as just a girl. You know, like, he treats her with a hell of a lot of respect, which even Deku doesn't really do. He kind of does his typical I'm the hero bullshit and puts his life on the line to protect others, which is very sweet, but Bakugo treats Uraraka with the respect that she deserves. She's a hero just as much as everyone else, and quite frankly, if you take the powers away, Uraraka washes everybody in Class 1A. I'm just saying. Like, she's the only one with genuine, honest-to-God, hand-to-hand combat outside of, like, Ojiro. But Uraraka also gets Bakugo in a lot of ways. Like, she understands that when he's being stupid, she gets when, like, he's upset and why she's upset. She's very, like, emotionally, like kind of clued in ways that a lot of other characters aren't, and that would really help Bakugo grow as a person, and she has helped him grow as a person. This, I do prefer this. I said that I find canon ships boring at times. Again, this is something we can get into in Shipping 102, but I often find Deku and Uraraka a great example of, oh my god, shonen canon shonen ships are so unbelievably boring. It's just, he's the main girl, or she's the main girl, he's the main guy, so they have to get together. Like, it's very, very boring, and I really don't like it. Whereas Bakugo and Uraraka, like, that to me makes a lot of sense. Gasp! I don't watch MHA, so I don't know who they are. That's funny. Reincarnation, a shipping dynamic wherein characters reincarnate either once or throughout time, and then reunite. So some examples could include Beren and Luthien from the Silmarillion. If you know anything about Tolkien's works outside of Lord of the Rings, Beren and Luthien are two characters who are given the very rare opportunity to reincarnate and to reunite over time. Not necessarily isekai. I do want that known. This doesn't really mean isekai. It just means kind of like, it just means like returning. Are they canon? I haven't kept up with MHA. No, they're not canon. They are not canon. Usagi and Mamoru from Sailor Moon. So if you don't know who that is, it's Sailor Moon and Tuxedo Mask. Their entire story is them dying and coming back. Like, death and rebirth is a very common theme in Sailor Moon. And so, yeah, these two, dying and reuniting is a very common theme. So I will say I don't really count it as a reincarnation necessarily if one of them dies and the other one doesn't. To me, that feels kind of cheap. Like, I'll still count it, but it feels cheaper than, like, these two examples here, where it's like they are destined to always find each other again. Like, that's a beautiful sentiment. Next one. Toya and Yuki from the Clamp verse. Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about, the Clamp verse being Tsubasa Reservoir Chronicles, and Cardcaptor Sakura. So we've seen at this point 2 universes, so we now have to just kind of assume that this is understood, that in any universe where Toya and Yuki happen to be within the Clamp multiverse, they will be together. Which I think is very, very sweet. No matter, like, it's like Doctor Strange says it in Multiverse of Madness, where like I will love you in every universe, right? Like, that's this. Like, like Toya and Yuki will always be together in every universe because they're just like destined to be together, which is very, very cute in my opinion. They're the blueprint in many ways. Okay, let me blow your mind. In my opinion, and if you know Clamp, you'll know why this makes sense. Toya and Yuki are Jotaro and Kakyoin. I will always be of that opinion that is like what their ship is meant to kind of be a nod to. Like, I will always think that. Like, I will always believe that Toya and Yuki are meant to be Jotaro and Kakyoin from JoJo's. I will always think that. And the doomed couple / yaoi. Shipping dynamics wherein the couple, typically BL couples, hence yaoi, are destined to end tragically. The reason why I zeroed in on the yaoi element of it and not necessarily the Yuri element of it is because, like, I don't know why it seems very typical in BL. It's not as common in Yuri stories, but then again, that's because we don't really get a lot of Yuri stories. So it's just something that I've noticed. And I think a lot of people tend to kind of notice this as, like, the doomed couple, like, it tends to be a BL couple, but not always. Not always the case. And yeah, so let's go ahead and talk about some examples, which could include Ash Lynx and Eiji Okamura from Banana Fish, of course. When the series begins, you kind of get the feeling like Ash has sunken too deep into this world and this life, and try as hard as Eiji might, he might not be able to save him. You know, like, that's, like, their relationship is very much, like, emblematic of, like, the doomed couple. Like, you know from the beginning where it's gonna go, but you want to believe for their sake that they can kind of defy the odds. Another good example of this being Till and Ivan from Alien Stage. If you don't know, Alien Stage is a... if you've seen images recently of Vanta kissing... Who was it? I think it was, who was it? Was it Watson? I think it was Watson. If you've seen images of the Niji Sanji or Hollow Stars crew, like, kissing other boys in that crew, it's a reference to Alien Stage. And Alien Stage is arguably one of the coolest web series we've seen in a long time. I know a lot of people love Has Been Hotel. I would put this above that, personally. I think Alien Stage is such a cool and unique idea. It is essentially Earth is sort of taken over by aliens, but it's not quite what you think. And humans are seen more as, like, pets, right? And there is this TV series that is just like American Idol, but the crowd votes on who they think did the better performance, and then the loser is killed. So it is a musical death game. It's really cool, and I highly recommend it. But just know, if you like Till and Ivan, you are going to have a very bad time. It's also Doomed Yuri as well. Yes, this is true. And I actually do like how they do the Doomed Yuri ship as well. I don't have it listed just because Till and Ivan have a bit more screen time. But the way they did the, like, Doomed Yuri ship is still very good because they give you like backstory on them. It's very good. This is one that I finished recently, and I wanted to die. Not because it was bad, because it was so good it made me cry. Bars, Achilles and Patroclus from Song of Achilles. If you know the story of the fall of Troy from Greek mythology, and you know about the story of Achilles, the Song of Achilles, if you will, you'll know that Achilles had a bestest buddy in the whole world, his bestest friend Patroclus. His best friend, they were roommates, you see. And the Song of Achilles is a retelling of that tale where the author rightfully tells the historians who have gone back and essentially straight-washed history and tells them to shove it up their ass, and properly tells the story of Achilles and Patroclus. And history will know them as bestest buddies. And so it is there is elements to the story that I don't crazy like. I don't like the way that Patroclus is sort of infantilized, because Patroclus was just as strong as, like, not just as strong, but like Patroclus could move in a way that could trick somebody into thinking he's Achilles. But in the Song of Achilles, they do sort of make Patroclus like a bit of like a little too much of a soft boy, in my opinion. Although I do love soft boy Patroclus, I still loved that character, but not quite the Patroclus that I think we should have gotten. And Achilles in this will make you love him and then be so frustrated with him, which is very much Achilles. But yeah, if you know the story, you'll know that, like, Achilles' mother disliked Patroclus because he was immortal. In the narrative, it's because they're gay. Like in the meta narrative, it's like a parent who doesn't appreciate that their son is gay. But like in this case, it's that he's mortal. And the prophecy that Achilles will perish, that Achilles will die in Troy, right? Like that is the prophecy surrounding the Song of Achilles, and so you read it hoping that maybe there'll be a way to save them. Zack and Aerith is a fucking excellent call. That I love Zack and Aerith, and they are very much doomed couple energy. This one is supplied to us from the lovely space girl Stella Luna, because I don't watch Nana because that show is too raw and real for me. It's an expertly written, painfully heartbreaking series. And Ren and Nana is Stella's recommendation, because she's like, this, you have to say this. So, yeah, this one. Now, we have to get into some uncomfortable conversations, and we have to talk about the dangers of shipping. While we all very much enjoy shipping, there can be those of us who take things too far. It's important to keep the following in mind when indulging in shipping and shipping culture. This is, would plastic memories count? I don't really know enough about it, but I'm gonna say sure. If you believe it, if my lovely mods believe in something, I will agree with them. Ship with respect. Yeah, ship responsibly. Very quickly. Actually, you know what? No, I'll save that for afterwards. Let's go ahead and get through this slide first, and then we'll talk about it. Please remember that shipping is meant to be fun. It is not meant to be taken in a serious way. It is an inherently nonsensical and goofy side of fandom. Do not send threats to people over the characters that you ship or they ship. Any threat sent to somebody because you disagree with somebody over shipping is absurd. Don't do that. Do not confuse your headcanons for what is truly canon. Do not believe the first thing you search on Google when you want to talk about shipping. Back when I was the shipping professor on TikTok, I was often told that the author of whatever series I was talking about, it's usually manga, the author of whatever series I was talking about said that they were canon. I once had people tell me that Kishimoto said in an interview that Naruto and Sasuke were supposed to end up together at the end of the story, and that his editors were homophobic and told him to not do that. Are you talking about the Naruto thing? Yes, I'm talking about the Naruto thing. So, wait, am I misremembering the story? Hang on. Stella, do you want to call me? Do you want to tell the story? Hang on. Stella, we might have a call-in. We'll see. Because I don't remember the full story. I just remember thinking that this situation was wild and telling Stella about it, and Stella howling. Okay, here we go. Oh,
Yes, you are misremembering. Because what you said wouldn't make this comment stupid.
Okay.
Because the comment said that, did you know that Naruto and Sasuke were supposed to end up together, but they didn't because the mangaka is homophobic? That was what was said.
Yes, sorry, yeah, so the mangaka
Not
was
the editor, because that would be like, oh, they're supposed to end up, and then the editor, because that would be an external person. But it was that the person who wrote it didn't make their own characters gay, even though they were supposed to be together, quote unquote, because they were homophobic. That's why they didn't write them together.
That's what it was. That's right. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, because I was like, what you just said just didn't make it sound stupid. It was just kind of like, oh, that's interesting. I don't know why that was, like, that's kind of dumb, I guess.
Yeah.
But no. It's like Kishimoto they were supposed to end up together, and Kishimoto, the creator, literally went, no, and they're homophobic.
And they're homophobic because homophobia stopped Kishimoto. Kishimoto's homophobia stopped him from making a canon, even though he's the one writing the story where they were apparently supposed to be canon. So he was just like, yes, I'm all for the gays, and then suddenly became not for the gays.
For the gays, for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Because if you took just two, like, you don't even need to Google that. You just thought about it, like, even just a little bit. Like, how much that just does not make any lick of sense. Literally no sense.
Well, and the wildest thing is, if you know, there's definitely people in the chat who have read Naruto or at least seen it, so you know what I'm about to say if you're a hardcore Naruto fan. Naruto and Sasuke was, first of all, never supposed to be in the show. Like, he was not a character in the original draft for Naruto. Like,
oh, really?
He was, Sasuke was invented by not invented by, but like the idea of Sasuke was a suggestion from an editor because there was no rival character. There was nobody for Naruto to like compete with. It's why like in the beginning their stories don't really line up.
Gotcha.
Right? Like, and then over time their stories become very intertwined and Sasuke becomes a huge part of the story. In the same way that Jacob and Bella were not supposed to get together in Twilight. Right, like that was an editorial decision.
That right? Jacob and Bella were not supposed to like have a romance. It wasn't supposed to be a love triangle.
It was never supposed to be a love triangle, because Jacob is actually okay. The irony of this: if I had a nickel for every time a writer made a character based off their sibling, and then the editor told them to, and then the editor and then they were told to ship them, I'd have 2 nickels. It's not a lot, but it's weird that it happened twice. Because so Jacob is named after Stephanie Meyer's brother, I believe. And Bella is a very obvious fucking, like, author stand-in, right? Like, so it's very weird for her, I assume.
Yep.
And then Sasuke is based off Kishimoto's brother, because when he was like, I have to make a rival character, I don't really have any ideas, so I'll give them something similar to the relationship that I had with my brother, like a very like rival, like goofy rivalry type shit. So
Yeah.
like, that's where the initial, it's not where Sasuke eventually ended up, and I don't fault people for shipping Naruto and Sasuke, because I ship Naruto and Sasuke, right? Like, I actually think they have more chemistry together than with their actual wives, right? So, you know, like, it's like, I get it, right? But it's a weird thing to say, you know, it's a weird, like, don't make shit up. I also was told that that Bowser is 71 years old and Luigi is 17. I don't know if you remember this.
Yeah. I do remember that one. I
Yeah.
remember that one. Or like, yeah, because people were shipping
Bowser and Luigi.
And yeah, Bowser and Luigi. And then they went after Peach and Mario and
yeah, because they were like so Luigi's a miner with a full mustache and a job as a plumber.
As a plumber.
And then Bowser is a 71-year-old Koopa. And Mario is in his mid-20s dating Peach, who is apparently 16.
16, yeah.
And people were like, yeah, it says so. It said so. Like, if you look at, because I was like, you need to Google that. And they're like, I did that, and Nintendo said that. Nintendo did not say that. The source for this is a Wikia page for a YouTube poop series. And there was so many videos.
Johnny Bravo is 17.
It is giving Johnny Bravo is 17, like, which also doesn't make sense. But this is what I mean. Like, don't confuse your head canons for actual canon, right?
Yes.
Like, this is what people mean when, like, when I open this stream by saying, like, I think a lot of times people poke fun at shipping and it comes from a misogynistic place. There is other times where it does come from a, like, oh my god, what are you talking about place, right?
Yes.
Because I think we get so carried away with, like, but I love this or I hate this so much that, like, I have to confirm to myself. I have to justify it. Except for the fact that if you actually played these games that you supposedly care about all of a sudden, and definitely not just because it's popular because the movie came out at the time, you'll know that they were all babies at the same time. Like, I don't remember which, it was either Super Mario World 2 or
also
one of the Mario games features all of the babies together. So I guess you could also argue that Peach and Mario are childhood friends because they were babies at the same time and in the same place. But they were all together at the same age, the same time.
I also am, okay, here's the thing too, is that, like, a lot of characters, they make ambiguous in age. Like, they do that on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Not to be like, oh, this person is, like, a minor and this person is an adult and stuff like that. It's so that way, no matter what age you are, you don't think about it, and you think, like, if you're a minor, you think they're a minor. If you're an adult, you think they're an adult. No matter what stage of your life, like, you think you're, like, around the same age. Yeah. And if you're, like, really old, you're just like, that's an adult. You know? Like, obviously, if you're in your 80s loving Mario, you're not thinking Mario's 80 years old. But, you know, like, somebody, they do that, like, on purpose. Except Mario has, like, a mustache, so he's clearly an adult.
Yes.
But, like, the other thing that is crazy to me, because this happened to, first of all, I'm so tired of people being like, I Googled it. I Googled it, and then it's like, what's the source? And it's always like stuff, like, because Google will just show you like the most popular page or whatever, and it'll be like not really sourced or anything, and it's like, do you guys check your sources? Hello?
Well, because first of all, my guest lecturer, Stella Luna, that I didn't expect. I forgot that we're supposed to be doing like we're supposed to pretend that we're professors right now.
Oh, okay.
But my source is that I made it the fuck up.
My
Exactly.
sources, I made it the fuck up. Yeah.
But it's funny, like, as we are, of course, in a classroom right now, you are taught in school to check your sources.
Yes.
Yet nobody does it.
No one does it because because we brought up the Johnny Bravo thing earlier, right?
Oh, that was a whole thing.
So on TikTok a while ago, there was a video that somebody had made saying that they Googled Johnny Bravo's age and it said he was 17, right? And people Googled it, and you could Google it, and it did say he was 17. However, when you check the source, it came from a fandom wikia, and it was the age of Johnny Bravo and some really obscure, like, fan-made game. That's where it came from, right?
Yeah.
But if you watched the show, you would know the whole entire joke is that he's an adult loser with no job and, like, barely made it through high school. Like, he lives with his mom.
And there's an actual episode of the show that, first of all, that we watched when this happened. Yeah. The two of us watched it, and let me just say, Johnny Bravo, that show really holds up. That show is really funny. Like, I was like, dang, this show's still really good.
Yeah.
But there's an entire episode about Johnny talking about, I forget, Susie, I think is the neighborhood girl that they have to babysit sometimes.
Yes, so it's Susie and his mom were, like, looking through his his yearbook.
Yes.
And
so a yearbook, he owns a yearbook.
Yes.
So he has to be bare minimum 18, right?
Yes.
Like, at that point, bare minimum, like, post-secondary. And they're flipping through his yearbook, and they see a very scrawny looking Johnny. The whole reason why we have Johnny the way that he is, as this, like, big macho muscly man, was to impress this girl. And the girl ends up standing him up at their prom, and he never gets over the rejection, and he never saw her again. And then I think his mom called her or something. Like, I forget, like, what happens.
Yeah, his mom gets in contact with her and invites her over.
Yeah,
literally,
her 6 children. Like, her and her, like, seven children. Her and her 7 children.
Yes.
So, again, Johnny is very clearly out of high school because he has a yearbook, right?
Yeah. It was prom, and usually in the U.S., only juniors and seniors. Yeah, juniors or seniors can go to prom.
Yeah, so he is, like, he's had his prom, and he talks about it as though that was his last prom that he ever went to, right? Yeah. So it would have to be his last one in his last year. He has the yearbook, and when he is shown the girl that he had a crush on, she has 7 children. And some of them look to be about the same age as Susie, who is bare minimum, like, 8 or 10. Right? Yeah. Like, minimum.
Yep.
So Johnny is at least in his mid-20s.
Yep.
And it is at the least. I would ballpark Johnny at, like, 30.
I would say, yeah, anywhere from, like, 29 to 32, I would say.
Like,
or
like late 20s, late 20s, early 30s for Johnny.
Yeah.
We've gone very far from shipping, but this is just as an example.
It's about checking your sources, right?
Yeah,
it's like so many times.
Yeah.
It's not just to Google something and then see it pop up and go, oh, that's the answer. Like, check where that comes from, right? Because the show never specifically says how old Johnny is, ever. But context clues would give you a lot of different things. Like, like the jokes that are being made, the the whole joke of him living with his mom and being a loser who can't pick up girls is a very, like, trope and stereotype of, like, adult men who are, like, 30, right? Like, we have a whole joke, a 30-year-old wizard, right? When you turn 30, you become a wizard if you're a virgin. Like, that's a whole joke.
There's literally a BL where a man gains the ability to read other people's minds when he touches them because he's a virgin. Fun fact. Yeah, can you imagine being in your 30s and living at home? That'd be crazy. That'd be wild.
Okay, we live in a different society than we did in the
Johnny
90s,
Bravo
okay?
did. Yeah.
Yeah, and Johnny Bravo did in the 90s, okay?
Yeah.
So...
I am going to continue with my lecture now.
Okay, have fun. I'm sorry for the tangent
I know.
there.
I appreciate you fact checking me. See, it's good to fact check and be open to
Yeah,
it.
I had to make sure you got the Naruto one right because what you said made sense.
Yeah, it made too much sense. It made it less dumb.
Yeah, really like Kishimoto wanted to make him gay, but the editor said, no, don't make him gay because he's homophobic. And that's like, that sounds, I mean, that definitely could happen. That probably has happened.
Yeah.
Nana. What?
Also, everyone, before guest lecturer Professor Luna leaves, make sure that you say hello and a thank you for the Nana reference. Because a lot of this, like a lot of people were like, oh god, Nana, like when it came up in doomed couples. So
there's so many doomed couples there. That's the worst part, is that the whole thing is like doomed.
Yeah.
That is just doomed the manga.
Doomed
like that
the manga.
Doomed the manga.
Yeah.
Like
poor Nana characters. So sad.
Poor Nana characters.
Yeah.
You don't want that. I mean, to be fair, I do. This is my ship from Nana. I believe that Nana and Hachi are supposed to end up together, and the only reason they haven't is because the manga hasn't continued. But I think that it was supposed to be a slow burn between two girls where they end up together at the end. So it's like not a GL, but it is a GL because like they would end up together at the end, but we haven't even gotten that far because unfortunately the mangaka got sick.
So
and
what
she
you're
hasn't
saying?
2009.
So what you're saying is that Nana is a modern day retelling of Sappho and her roommate.
And they were roommates.
They actually were roommates.
And they were roommates. The anime.
Love it.
All right, guys. I'm gonna leave now. Enjoy the rest of your shipping lecture here.
Do you have any homework for them?
Watch Nana.
Watch Nana.
And Banana Fish.
And Banana Fish. Watch Nana and Banana Fish.
Cry.
Understandable.
Feel those emotions.
So Professor Luna will expect that a full page, at least 2 pages worth of essay on her desk by next week.
What desk? I'm dead. You put it on
you're
top
dead.
of my coffee.
Yeah, I forgot. Yeah, the whole joke about this is that like all the VTubers are professors in the same university. You left. You left. You retired.
Yeah, go put your essay on my coffin.
Yeah. Yeah, there we go. Okay.
My tombstone.
Yeah, tombstone. Got it.
Okay.
Okay.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
There we go. Okay. Anyway, first of all, out of character moment. I really love when she calls on stream. I don't know why. It's just watching everybody in chat get very excited to see Stella makes me very happy. So that's very sweet of you guys. Anyway, back to Professor Underhill, as we were saying. So yes, make sure to never confuse headcanons for canon. Another big do not force your ships onto other people. I saw somebody in the chat talk about forcing ships, and then I saw a name that I think will forever live in infamy when it comes to forcing your ships not just onto other people, but onto the series creators themselves. Voltron is what we now have to talk about. It's unfortunate that Voltron is a series now that has this stigma attached to it, the geostigma. It has the stigma attached to it now, where fans of Voltron were so adamant that their ship be made canon. I believe it was, what was it? It was What was the ship name again? I don't watch Voltron. I wanted to back when it was first airing, but the fandom scared me off, and it scared a lot of people on. Was it Clance or Sheath? Because I know there was two. So there was a ship war between Clance and Sheath. Yeah, because it was Keith and then Lance and Shiro was the other one. And I remember everybody expected Keith and Lance, like, demanded that they get together and were, like, actively harassing people who shipped Keith and Shiro. Now, again, I don't know enough about Voltron to really have an opinion on which ship is better, like, in this case. I don't really know. But it got to the point where they were actively harassing the people who make the show, which is genuinely really crazy. Now, I will say a more funny example of this is, like, if you want to be like, okay, that time was actually kind of funny, was in the case of Supernatural. It took a very long time for us to get to this point, but in the series Supernatural, which I am now going to spoil a plot element from Supernatural, from the end of Supernatural season 15. Towards the end of Supernatural, Castiel finally tells Dean that he loves him. And not like, I love you, man. No, it's, I love you, Dean. Dean, I love you. Don't do this, Cass. Like, is the response. The most stares in homophobia. Like, which is funny because Jensen apparently did not want that to be how the scene went down. Bless his heart. Because I know he had to put up with Destiel fans for a long time, and he's like, "Fuck it, give them what they want. It's over," you know. Bless that boy. But that is a more funny example because Cass does admit that he loves Dean, but Dean does not confirm nor deny his feelings, and then Cass immediately dies and is never seen in the show again. For I think like 2 more episodes, we just like for the final 2 episodes, you just don't have Cass. That is doomed Yowie for real. I agree. It is doomed Yowie for real. So yeah, that is a more funny example, but I will say, like, in Supernatural's case, that there was a lot of queer baiting in that show. And queer baiting is something we could talk about another time. That's something we could talk about in the Fujoshi 101. Like, that's a whole other can of worms. But, like, you know, another time. Moving on. There are ships that you and I am in the way here. Let me move over. So there are ships that you and I will find icky, and in those situations, it is best to simply block and move on, because let's be real, we all know that people are hella weird, and there really is just no arguing with some folks. I think it's very important to keep that in mind. There are people who are going to ship things that you don't like. There are people who are going to ship things that you find icky. As an example, I will never forget when I found out the hard way that people who ship Wincest still exist. There was a video made about me on TikTok from a person who is a Wincest shipper who was angry with me that I said that Wincest was icky. I will never try to argue with this person that Wincest, like I'm not gonna get into a debate with them. I find it icky, they don't. End of story. But all of the comments were people saying, like, does he even go here? He does, like, what is he talking about? Does he even go here? I'm like, bro, the show itself makes fun of people who ship Wincest. Y'all are weird. They tried to claim that Eric Kripke actively shipped it, which, like, no, the fuck he did not. But, like, again, that goes into, like, don't confuse your headcanons with canon. So, like, I keep seeing new Wincest is still going strong. I had no clue. I will say, though, like, I will stand by what I said in that video, where Wincest existed because there was no one else to ship in Supernatural other than the brothers. So people started to ship the brothers together, right? They started to ship Sam and Dean because there was no one else really in the show. It was just those two. And then they introduced Castiel. And that's when I think Wincest did start to die off and you saw less interest in Wincest. But that is like a thing. Luke and Leia shippers, that's still a thing that exists, which is real weird. Thor and Loki shippers was victim of this back in like 2011 Tumblr. I will, at the very least, this is one that I should not be defending, but like, I will at the very least concede that Loki is a frost giant and not technically related to Thor, but it is still very strange. Like, it is still, I still don't really like it. Like, it's not really for me. Oh god, you just reminded me of people who ship the Demon Slayer siblings. I forget their names. Yes, there are people who ship Tanjiro and Nezuko, which is very icky, right? The Onceler and himself, yeah, because there's no one else to ship in that series, right? Or in the Lorax, so people shipped the Onceler with himself, and then they started getting really crazy with it. Bat family shipping, technically. Bat family shipping I can kind of understand. I will say I am a Dick Grayson, Barbara Gordon kind of guy. I actually do prefer Grayson with Barbara over Grayson with Starfire, which I know blows a lot of people's minds, but Starfire and Dick, just to me, like, that's okay, there are examples where I do have no TPs, but it's not for the reason that people think. Like, the two that I can think of off the top of my head is Nightwing and Starfire, Makoto Tachibana, and Haruka Nanase from Free. And it's not because I don't like those two ships, or I don't get why people ship it, because I do. But there's moments in each other's stories where they pretty much confirm and, like, cement that the ship just, like, does not make sense. Dick and Barbara are canon right now. We love to see that. That's what we love to see. But like, with Starfire and Dick Grayson, they're fun. They love each other, obviously. But like, which Robin was in Teen Titans? That was Dick Grayson. But we don't have confirmation on that. That's more up in the air. But with Starfire and Dick Grayson, there's actually an entire comic where the two of them are sitting down by the pool and kind of talking about their relationship and why it just doesn't really work. And then and like they're very mature about it. They're two people who love each other very much, but they know that their relationship just doesn't make sense and will not work. And then with Makoto and Haru, with Mako and Haru, you have to keep in mind that, like, everything in Free is subtext in the same way it is with Yuri on Ice, in the same way it is with Skate the Infinity, in the same way that it is with Banana Fish. Like, it's a lot of subtext because it's Japan and they're not quite there yet. And so in the second season of Free, Mako just finally tells Haru that he has to move on. Right, that he can't keep waiting for Haru, that he knows that he's not what Haru needs. What Haru needs is to find his own path forward, and what Haru really needs is somebody like Rin, right? Like, even though Mako loves Haru, obviously, it's like Haru saying, I'm going to college, I'm going to Tokyo, like, I'm not staying here, and you can come with me or you can stay here, right? But I have to do this for myself. Is Mako basically saying, like, I need to move on. I can't keep doing this. And to me, it hurts. Like, to me, in my opinion, it hurts those four characters when they are shipped. Like, when Nightwing and Starfire are shipped together, to me, it's not letting those two characters grow. When Mako Haru is shipped, it's not letting those two characters grow. But that's my opinion, though. Right? That's me. And I'm not going to ever be angry and be like, ew, no, like, I'll make jokes of like, ew, how dare you? If I'm like being playful or I know you, I'll make like a playful jab, or I think that you're being playful back, then I'll make the like, ew, how dare you? But like, I will never genuinely with like malice in my heart be upset with somebody over shipping. It just doesn't make sense. Nor will I go to, say, a voice actors panel and ask them their opinion on a really icky ship to try to get a rise out of them. I wouldn't do that either. This is where we're going to talk about the thing. So I almost canceled the stream because of something I saw earlier in the week. And there was a girl who asked, I forget his name. He's a lovely, lovely man. The voice actor for Deku. I can't think of his name off the top of my head. It's very bad. Justin Briner. Now, I am quite the vocal critic of Justin's version of Deku. I don't like it. I believe Daiki Yamashita is the voice in the Japanese dub, like in the original dub. I believe it's Daiki. I could be wrong on that. Justin, I love. I think he's such a lovely person. I think he's great. I don't really blame Justin for the inflection he uses, but Justin's Deku very much does drive me a little bit crazy. All Might, I don't know what to do. Like, that's... I don't know what to say. Daiki Yamashita is the Japanese VA. Okay, cool. It's one of those, like, I definitely see what, like, Justin was going for, but I think the director kind of failed him a little bit. But it's not to take away from Justin's performance, because he is a very good performer and a friggin' sweetheart from all accounts. Justin seems like an absolute sweetheart. I would buy that man a drink, because there is, again, when Justin's allowed to, he can flex as Deku, and he's really good, right? He's such a good dude, and did not deserve what happened to him at a con. It was incredibly uncomfortable. So, a person had asked Justin, it was a very creepy video. I don't want to share it because I also don't want the person who asked this question to get harassed or anything like that. So we're just gonna be somewhat vague, but it was a person. They were dressed up like Miku. They were cosplaying. They were clearly like younger, like a teenager or something. And like, I will say something that I think a lot of us millennials have to do is you have to be a little bit more patient with some Zoomers and Gen Alpha, like younger Zoomers and older Gen Alpha, because you have to keep in mind they were in the pandemic era for a really formative time in their lives. So there's a lot of social cues that we're going to see people who you should have those social cues, but they just don't, because they were stuck inside for like 3 years, right? Which again, like, it's nobody's fault. We had to stay indoors, but that did kind of cripple some people's social interaction, right? Like, people could no longer be like interact with people socially, and so a lot of social skills just were not learned. So when you introduce someone who doesn't have those social cues into a convention setting, you're gonna get some odd behavior. So I do think there should be some understanding thrown this person's way. Even though I do think what they said was incredibly uncalled for and incredibly gross. But this person basically said, I was at your panel yesterday and I asked a question, right? And Justin goes, oh no, because he knows what's about to happen. And the person asked Justin what they think about shipping. And the audience kind of is like, oh, okay. Like, at first they're like a little bit curious about what is going to be said, and Justin just says, like, I don't really have an opinion, right? Like, it's not really his place to have an opinion. He's the actor. And so it's not really for him to ship his character with people. Like, he's allowed to, of course, but it's not really his place to do that. And if he says anything, it can be seen as more momentum behind one particular ship, and it could cause some fights in and among the community. I saw the video and they seemed a little too proud of their question. I will say, from what I understand, and keep in mind that this is all hearsay, so this one I will trust that you can look up on your own. But from what I looked into on the situation, they don't particularly ship this ship. It's more that they are a anti-pro shipper. If you don't know what pro shipping is, it's something we'll get into in Shipping 103 probably, because it's a very complicated topic. But basically, they were somebody who's very anti-shipping problematic ships, which on paper is fine and understandable, but in practice, anti-pro shippers can be just as awful as pro shippers. It just kind of depends on how it's done. So basically, this girl asked Justin Briner his opinion on shipping to get a rise out of him, and he said, he doesn't really have an opinion. And she goes, "What about your ship with Aerie?" And they giggle like crazy after asking this. Like, they giggle like the Joker. And the audience is very clearly uncomfortable. And Justin even says, like, "Okay, shut it down. The internet is wild," is all he says, and he moves on to the next question. Very treated it like a professional, and then did address it by tweeting out saying, please don't ask people these questions. And other voice actors said, like, I've had people ask me some weird stuff at panels, and it's like, you have to keep in mind that these are real people that you are asking these questions to. Again, do not send threats over shipping. Do not confuse headcanons for canon. Do not force your ships onto other people, especially not the creators of the thing, nor the actors. It is very icky. And so you get situations like this where voice actors had to come out and talk about it. So there is a lot of issues with shipping that can arise, and you do have to be careful on how you behave in this community. Yeah, it's been twisted to be short for problematic shipping, when pro shipping just meant ship and let ship, don't read, block, and move on. That was that was from what I understood, because I didn't even know what pro shipping was, even when I was the shipping professor, because that was like a new term to me. Like, you have to keep in mind, I come from an older era, right? Like, I'm the Tumblr era. Pro shipping wasn't really a thing for me. At least I never really encountered it. It's a much more prominent phrase in shipping culture now. With anime in particular, asking an actor about shipping just seems odd. Live action sort of makes sense because their opinion on it could affect how they portray the character, but not really in anime. Pro is in favor of shipping, juxtapose anti, not problematic. It has become problematic ships in recent times. Like, that's how a lot of people take it now, which is, again, not its original term. But again, this is something that we can talk about in another lecture. The moment Aerie was brought into it, is when you know it was too far. Hopefully, it's just a learning experience for the one asking. I do hope so. Is that what pro shipping is? I just kind of assumed it was a term for people who don't like shipping, used as derogatory term for shippers. No, yeah, it has like a meaning to it. So anyway, all of this is just to kind of hammer home that, like, this is why this is uncomfortable. Also, for people who don't watch My Hero, Deku is, I believe, at the time he meets Aerie, 16 or 17, and Aerie's like 10 years old, max. Right? Like, Aerie is an actual literal child, and Deku is a teenager approaching his 20s. So, very icky question to ask the actor. That's why everybody groaned in the audience and was very much like icked out. Aerie is anywhere between 5 and 10. Yeah, Aerie is 10 at maximum, right? Because she's very much a child. So it's worse, she's 7. Yeah, very, like, Deku's 10, like, 9 to 10 years older than her. It's very uncomfortable. Like, anywhere from 9 to 11 years older. So it's a very uncomfortable question to ask someone. It's a brother-sister relationship at best. It's true. Are you going to talk about Bonnie and shipping? No. I don't... No, because I don't really know any people who like ship Bonnie with anybody personally. Like Bonnie's, that's a whole other can of worms. Bonnie's a whole other can of worms. I feel sick. He even had to tolerate that question. Yeah, it's very icky. But anyway, all this to say, there is dangers to shipping that you need to just remember that it's silly, right? It's an inherently goofy side of fandom that we're supposed to be having fun with. It shouldn't have to be dramatic. In conclusion, shipping is a goofy little hobby for goofy little people like you and I. It is important to remember to not take things too seriously. And just enjoy what you enjoy. Just try not to be a weirdo in the process. There's all sorts of ways to enjoy ships, so go ahead, have some fun, and again, please, don't be weird. Any questions? We have officially reached the question portion. Let's go. It took us a while to get there, but we got there. We're just being goofy little guys, you know? We're just being goofy little goofs. All right, so I'm going to start the Q&A by going through the questions that we already have. If you do have any questions, be sure to use the leave your questions here at the top, and I'll go through these. So, first question we have here. Let's see. What can make or break a ship for you? Is there a particular element that can win you over, make you start to like a ship, or that you previously didn't? Well, first of all, thank you for your question, Garcia. I will say that when it comes to shipping, I am usually not a fan of childhood friends because I feel like people, I don't know, it feels, when people ship childhood friends and then get upset at you for not shipping it, it really feels like, wow, I can't believe you never told your crush how you feel about them. That's very sad. You know, like, that's what it gives. At least to me, it's just kind of like, oh, that's very sad for you. So to me personally, it just kind of, it feels, a lot of people who ship childhood friends can be very confrontational, and so it kind of ruins a lot of ships for me personally. But as for like something that can kind of change my opinion on it, it's just all I ask for in ships is two people who care about each other, who make each other better. When it comes to childhood best friends, if there's one element of childhood friends that I really like, it's when there's time between them meeting, right? So like they're childhood best friends, years pass and they haven't seen each other, and then they reunite. That does work for me quite a bit. I do actually like that element of childhood friends trope. I do really like that. Hoshiyomi, necessary warning signs when your shipping has become an unhealthy obsession. When you start to get like defensive and angry with people, and you're like getting into fights pretty frequently over shipping, I think that's a sign that it's become an unhealthy hobby, and you maybe need to take a little bit of a step back and maybe reevaluate how you interact with the different fandoms that you interact with. I think the second you start getting hostile with people, that's to me the sign where it becomes too much and too far. Bumbledet, thank you for the question. How important do you think it is to have proper tags for fanfic writing? Excellent question. I think it's very important just so people know what they're getting into. I think if you can tag your fanfiction with something that could be a trigger for some folks, if you can tag your fanfiction with like just like coffee shop AU, I think that not only works for the viewer who might not want to interact with certain tags, but it also works for you because there's a lot of people who love coffee shop AUs, myself being one of them. I adore coffee shop AUs and I will read those all the time. But that's an excellent question. So yes, I do agree. I do think that proper tags are pretty important. Kayla, would Axel X Cyax count as a reincarnation ship? Yes, it would. Based off what we know about Kingdom Hearts and the way that Nobody's and the heart works in Kingdom Hearts, Axel and Cyax would absolutely count as a reincarnation ship because they're technically not Isa and Lee, right? They are technically not the same people that they were. They are different people, and even now that we have them sort of returned as Isa and Lee, it's technically their third go round, at least for, well, it's Isa's third go round at the very least. So it's, or fourth actually, Jesus. Jeez, boy, can't catch a break. But yes, I would say Axel and Syx absolutely count as a reincarnation ship, and in fact, I am upset with myself for not including them. Thoughts on when talk show hosts bring out shipping art to show actors? It makes me cringe every time. I just think most talk show hosts aren't funny, and so they have to rely on making their guests uncomfortable in order to get laughs because they're not funny. But that's like a hot take, I suppose. But yeah, I think it's really shitty and uncool and really mean to the artist who drew that, and also the lack of credit when that happens is also very shitty and uncool, and just kind of, yeah, don't like that. Solid hot take, thank you. There are very few talk show hosts that I do like. Craig Ferguson will always be a very big influence on me. I really like Craig Ferguson. Even though I know Jimmy has done this, I actually don't hate Jimmy Fallon that, like, I do think that sometimes he can be kind of unfunny, and he has a tendency to laugh at his own jokes, which admittedly I also do laugh at my own jokes, but I feel like Jimmy is the one that I give the most pass to. Everybody else, Colbert in particular, as a Lord of the Rings fan, I used to love Colbert, but I don't know, just in recent years, I've really begun to lose a lot of respect for Colbert over time. I'd still love to sit and talk with him. I still think he's a really cool dude, but I just don't really enjoy the way he interacts with his guests that much. And I very much don't like Jimmy Kimmel or basically any other late night host outside of like Conan. But yeah, great question. Thank you. Jesse, do you remember any great shipping wars? Sakura versus Hinata, Rukia versus Orihime, Toka versus Eta. Oh, geez, that was a big one. Any war stories that you can tell? That's a great question. So I'm trying to think of, for me, I think the biggest shipping war that I was personally like involved in was Mako Haru versus Rin Haru, because that was like a huge back and forth, because even the show couldn't decide on which one was the one that was like the most canon, because obviously it can't really be canon. It's all with Free and a lot of other shows like Free, like Skate and stuff like that, it's all implied. It's all like reading between the lines and stuff like that, which can cause a lot of problems. So I think that was probably the biggest shipping war that I was in, was Rin Haru versus Mako Haru. Narusaku versus Naruhina was a time. Yeah, I was like involved in that. So Shippuden, I had to like watch a lot of Shippuden later in life, because like I got really kind of disconnected from Shippuden. It was too confusing for me at times. So I wasn't really around for like Narusaku, Naruhina. And I was always more of a Narusasu fan anyway, so I didn't really have a horse in that particular race. But I will say that people who ship Naruto and Sakura must have had a field day or must have been really upset at the very least when Sakura tries to be like, let's just run away together, Naruto, like, I love you. And he's like, bro, fuck you. Like, when he gets angry at her, I was like, damn, well, that ship just sunk. That's crazy. Oh, you have no idea. I'm in a lot of shipping circles. That's understandable. I felt very vindicated for Naruhina when I watched, because I always loved Hinata. Hinata's very sweet. Yeah, Yuri on Ice was the outlier, and while it was a blessing for the story and the fans, the company behind it wasn't really for it. Yeah, they gave like the staff an incredibly hard time with the kiss. That's why you don't really see it on screen. Like, you do see it on screen, but you don't see it. You know what I mean? It's why the arm goes up. So yeah. Rip Ice Addo. I didn't even like it was so funny because I remember everyone's just like, oh man, Ice Adolescence. I'm like, I didn't even want this stupid movie. I wanted season 2. I didn't want a prequel. I wanted the next part of the story. They said see you next level. Mappa is a house built on the back of Fujoshi and they abandoned us. Like, really let that shit sink in. I will never, ever forgive them for that, and if I can help it, I will never watch a Mappa series again. Like, y'all abandon us for tropey, goofy shonen stuff, and that blows my mind, man. Like, that was like the height of betrayal. That was my Bethesda canvas bag moment, you know? That was my, like, Reki, I love skating. Yeah, my love of skating. It's like, fucking goddamn it. Oh my god, I could go off on that. Yeah, from now on, you give every project to a different studio other than Mappa. Anybody other than Mappa, I do not care. You give it to anyone else. Jane, thank you for the question. Opinion on Shaoran and Sakura. It's very cute. I like that they have like kind of a enemies to lovers start. I will say though, when I say lovers, because here's the thing, I find ships with characters who are not of a certain age to be kind of like what are they going to even be doing? Like, I know a lot of people ship Anya and Damon. What's his name? It starts with a D. What am I thinking of? Damien from Spy Family. I don't get it. Like, I've seen art of them where they're older and like they're like going on dates and they're being cute. Another thing you have to keep in mind is shipping is very different when you're ace and your main interest in ships is seeing them just hanging out and like going on dates and stuff. And when they're kids, what the fuck are they gonna do? Like, what kind of dates are they going on? You know, it's like, I don't give a fuck. Like, so that's my issue with a lot of that. But with Shaoran and Sakura, like, they do a really good job at being like, they will definitely be a thing when they are older, and it's very obvious, right? And I think that's what they're doing as well with Anya and Damien, and I think it's why a lot of people like them. This is so true, which is why I like Horimiya so much. It's true, right? Like, my main interest is seeing them go out on dates. Don't get me wrong, you guys know I love me some Dojins. This isn't an uncommon thing for me to say. You all know I love me some Dojin, but it's always with characters that it feels appropriate, that it's like age appropriate. But my main interest is always in them as like going out on dates and hanging out and blah blah blah. And that's why I typically don't care for ships that are like Anya and Damien, because to me it's like a who gives a shit. But yeah. It was a ship from my childhood, so while I don't actively ship it now, it is nostalgic. That's how I feel. Like, that's how I feel as well. I get it, but it is kind of weird to me. Yeah, that's fair. I get that too. Any other questions? Do we have any other questions before we wrap up for the end of our lecture? Any other questions that you have for your shipping professor? For your professor today? Oh no. I ran out of Red Bull. That's very sad. This is a tragic end to the stream. Just wanted to say thank you for a great lecture, Professor. Thank you guys. I really appreciate it. I appreciate you guys being here and allowing me to rant at you about my shipping habits. And I love being your professor. It also makes me feel like I'm properly living up to my dark academia vibes, you know? Makes me feel good. A toxic ship that you low-key support. So I was told that I was toxic for liking Bakugo and Uraraka, which is why I was like, oh, you should hold on to that. I don't find that toxic, and I find it very alarming that people, because I was told that, like, so, I was told that I was toxic for preferring, Baku, like, Urabaku, or, I forget what you call it, Kachako. I was told that I was toxic for preferring Kachako to Baku Deku, because Bakugo would be abusive. I find that to be so fucked up on so many levels. And because, like, I literally replied to them by being like, so what you're saying is that this character that you supposedly like would have been abusive to his spouse, but because his spouse is a man, it's okay? Like, what? Like, the implications are really icky, right? Like, you're making a lot of assumptions. That's what I mean. I'm like, so you're assuming that Bakugo would have been abusive to his partner. You're then assuming that it's more okay for him to be abusive to Deku because A, he's a man, or B, he can take it. Either way is incredibly gross, right? By the way, this is not to say that all Baku Deku shippers are like that. It's just that was a particular subsect of the community that I had to deal with for quite a while. So that is something that I would say, like, I guess that's technically a toxic ship that I do have. But yeah, like a quote unquote toxic ship. The weirdest thing to use, that's the weirdest thing to use as an argument. I agree completely. I have some stories about Kachiko cosplayers who were nothing but nice getting harassed because they cosplayed it together. Like, the math just ain't mathin'. It's always the people who claim to be bullied, like, that end up being, like, the meanest people. Like, I can't explain it other than that. Like, it's always people who are like, bullies are bad, who end up being, like, awful bullies in fandom spaces, and I don't know what to make of that. It's just the unfortunate thing that I've encountered over time. It does make you mad when you have your own favorite ships, but people smack it down because it's not the same as theirs. Again, it's like, just let people ship things, and if you don't like it, like, just screw them, ignore them, because you're never gonna be able to rationalize with them. There's a lot of people that a lot of ships that I don't like that actively gross me out. But there's nothing I can do or say to really change people's minds, and I don't really care to have that conversation, you know? True, it's very odd. It is. Sorry, Professor, my phone died and I had to go back to the dorm to get my power cord. Did I miss, or did I make it back fast enough? What did I miss? We're in the Q&A period now. Inaki, thank you for the question. What would be a big no-no for shipping? A big no-no, in my opinion, like, if in terms of, like, how one ships things, is, again, just don't be weird. Like, my biggest no-no is just don't force your ship onto other people and harass other people because they disagree with your ship. That's, like, the biggest no-no for me. You know, just draw your fan art, make your edits, write your fan fiction. Just, I think forcing your ship on other people is too much, you know? Is there any ships you like, says the Large Otter. First of all, Large Otter, thank you for your question. Yeah, there's tons of ships I like. I listed a lot of them. Off the top of my head, I think probably my favorite, like the one that made me believe in romance again, was probably Kyoru from Fruits Basket. But other ones like Ash Agi, I really love. Cyborg, I really like, but we'll get into that in shipping VTubers in shipping 102. But yeah, there's tons of ships that I could talk about. I also, if you go to my TikTok page, you'll see when I was the shipping professor and talked about a bunch of ships that I really enjoyed. There's too many to list. I'd have to. It would take forever. Also, Rinharu. I'm a big Rinharu fan. CL, thank you for your question. What are the limits? The limit does not exist. Sorry. I had to hit you with the Mean Girls. But the limits is just like as we mentioned earlier, is just like, do not force your ship onto others. Do not confuse head canons for canon. Always check your sources, and do not do not harass people. Like, do not like harass or threaten anyone over shipping. Age gap ships, good or bad? I.e., 10 years, the 10 years between Rey and Ben Solo, or the 200 years between the Ghoul and Lucy from Fallout. Is there 200 years between the Ghoul and Lucy from Fallout? I haven't seen the Fallout show yet, but I didn't know that. That shit's crazy. It depends. Like, in vampire fiction, I tend to not care as much because the age gap is so fucking insane that it kind of like stops mattering, at least to me, and like the real world implications aren't really there. When it's a huge age gap that is like real world, right? Like, if, like as an example, if there was like a student teacher I'm not a big fan of student teacher. Let me get that out here right away. It's probably one of my least favorite ships, like ship dynamic. I really hate it. But like, yeah, exactly. How old are you? 17. How long have you been 17? A while, you know, like that. Yeah. But like, I think another big thing is like with age gaps comes like an almost inherent power imbalance, and the power imbalance is where I think I have a huge problem with a lot of it. Rey and Ben, like Reylo, for those of you who don't know what we're talking about, there is a 10-year difference between the two of them, but you don't really notice because the power imbalance isn't really there. I still think it's kind of squicky, but it is what it is. I think because even in real life you can have age gaps, but as long as there's no power imbalance and like both parties are adults, like consenting adults, then I think that, you know, it's fine. But there can't be a power imbalance, and there has to be two adults. Otherwise it's incredibly icky and it makes me very uncomfortable. It's why like I really don't like teacher-student stuff, because it's a little squicky for me. The power imbalance is too intense and the age gap is too much. Whereas like in Twilight, it's already a goofy story as it is. Well, aside from when Kylo imprisoned Rey, yeah, but then she whooped his ass. Like, yeah, exactly, yeah, that was temporary. And then she whooped his ass, so it's like, nah. What's your favorite ship from Fruits Basket that doesn't involve Toru, Kyo, or Yuki? Probably, funny enough, Rinharu, but not free Rinharu. Fruits Basket Rinharu. Ray did make him cry. It's true. But Rin and Haru in Fruits Basket is very, very good. Yeah, so I stand by that one for sure. That's another ship that's like, oh, okay, you want a toxic ship? You want a toxic ship. Okay. I got one more. Speaking of Fruits Basket, I got a toxic ship for you. I love these two characters on screen. When I say I ship this, it's mainly because I want to see what chaos is going to happen. Shigure and Akito as a couple scare me. And I will always watch, like, I will not blink when the two of them are on screen together, because, like, I have to know what the fuck is gonna happen next. Like, so I guess I technically ship it, because I do, like, want to see them, like I want to see, like, what is gonna happen next, because they're like a train wreck of a couple, you know? They're so messy. They are so messy. He redacted her mom, bro, is crazy. It's so crazy, dude. Like, Shigure and Akito feels like watching, like, trash TV, you know? It feels like watching 30 Day Fiancé. Where you're like, I can't look away. I have to know what's gonna happen next. They're on some soap opera shit. It's true. Did I say 30 Day Fiancé? I meant 90 Day Fiancé. Shigure and Akito are that one meme where the little kid is smirking at a house fire. That's exactly what that is. You can't look away from a train wreck. It's true. Apparently I need to reread Fruits Basket. You should. Natalie, thank you for the question. This is weirdly obtuse, but given that it's not okay to ship real people, would you say it's okay to ship characters from heavily fictionalized biographical works, i.e. alt history, Hitalia-ish? Hitalia, Hitalia is like technically their countries, so I can see that. Achilles, Patroclus, I can kind of see that. I think, like, I haven't really gotten into Hamilton, but I think there's a lot of Hamilton ships. That one, I will say, Natalie, is a great question. I will say that one's a nuanced one. I think it would depend on what I am being presented, right? Like, it would depend on how it is presented. With Italia, you're shipping land masses when you think about it. It's true. Like, you're shipping countries, right? And the World Cup, the World Cup will forever make me think of Italia. The World Cup is not about soccer, or sorry, football, as it should be, because you kick the friggin' thing with your foot. But no, the World Cup is not about football. The World Cup is about Hitalia. Yeah, Hitalia wasn't the one I was thinking of. I can't really name the one that I'm thinking of. So I'm trying to think of one where I ship the historical, like where I ship historical people, right? Again, like it's interesting, right? Because it's not okay to ship real people. But like you can ship like fictionalized. I think it's okay to ship like fictionalized versions of them as long as you understand that it is fiction, right? As we'll get into in our shipping, in like the shipping VTubers, like VTubing, or sorry, shipping 102 lecture. I think that it kind of depends, right? And you like with shipping VTubers, it's also doubly weird because I could think of a certain boy, like a certain boy that's crazy, who obviously was not a fan and made that very clear, right? So I think you have to like respect boundaries big time when it comes to shipping VTubers, because while VTubers are characters, like VTubers are definitely are characters. They are like, we are all portraying a character on screen, and we have a persona in which we like make content through that persona. For some people, they don't see it that way. Like some VTubers are just themselves and there's no real character, and so they can be a little thrown off. I do think when it comes to VTubing, like if you are going to be a VTuber, you probably should set up boundaries for shipping, just kind of inherently. I've got it. Ed and Steed from Our Flag Means Death. I haven't seen this show, but I've been told it's very good. Arthur and Gilgamesh. Bungo Stray Dogs is a great example. I gotta stop swinging in with the hard questions. No, but it's a good question, though. It's a good one. Blasphemous, but not the weirdest I've seen. Is shipping people from the Bible considered weird? I think it's certainly different. It's certainly different. Be right back, writing a love triangle between 3 different bold interpretations of Oda Nobunaga. As long as people understand that it is not the person, I think it is fine. People should respect any boundaries of VTuber sets. I agree completely, Jane. I will say, like, people have been very kind to me personally. As you guys know, like, I am Ace. I do have an NSFW tag, because I like to feel hot sometimes. And there's really... I wonder if I can show it on screen. Hang on. Let me see if I can find it. There is art that the wonderful Sif had made a while ago. I don't think Sif will mind me showing this. That it was of my of Puppet Hill. I don't know if I still have if it's in here or not. Yeah, so this was I don't think there's anything like I don't think there's anything, inherently wrong with this. So, yeah, so, I had said that, like, Puppet Hill was a much more, like, Puppet Hill's much cooler than I am. He's a much more dominant, character than I am. Like, I'm a little bit more submissive, but this was art of Sif and, Puppet Hill. And this was, like, because I had said that I consider him a very, like, dominant ace, whereas I'm more of a switch kind of ace, borderline sub. And yeah, Puppet Hill was very dom. He was a much more dominant character than Owl Hill is. Owl Hill's a little closer to me. Like, Owl Hill's almost a bit more sub than I am, but it's, yeah. Like, but yeah, like this art, like this is, I think, honestly, one of, like, my favorite pieces anyone's ever drawn for me. And I so appreciate Sif for making this. I think it's so, it like perfectly captures, like, how, like the energy that I feel like my NSFW tag should have is, like, a dominant or submissive ace can still be in, like, intimate situations without it being, like, nothing's going in or out of places, you know? Like, the only thing going in and out of places is tongues going into mouths, you know? Like, that's about it. Like, you guys, we've talked about this before. I think making out is actually really fun. But once parts go into parts is where you start to lose me. And was super tasteful art. That's what I mean. Like, tasteful nudes, you know? Tasteful nudes. If it's tasteful, I'm down. If it's a dominant ace without the ace having to do anything, like, without anything happening to the ace themselves, you know, like that, I think that's the sweet spot. But it's hard to do that kind of art, which is why I don't get NSFW art that often. I also, like, I've tried to commission stuff, but every time I try, it's hard to explain, and I just know it's going to come back really, like, naughty and gross, and it's just not what I want. But I do want to commission NSFW art at some point. Well, there is technically NSFW art. Well, again, not NSFW, but, like, hang on. Like, there is technically art of Owl Hill that is, that's a bit, like, that's on that line. Like, this one from RPG Staple is my usual go-to, where it's, like, you know, like, he kind of got it, you know, like, he kind of got it going on there, you know? You know, like, pinup-esque, yeah, like the Kabedon, you know, there's art of, like, Puppet Hill Kabedoning Liz, like kissing the neck. There's another one that I'm like, that is probably the hottest art I've ever, because this one I commissioned. This one is, like, very, very spicy, but not inherently sexual, right? If I can find it. So I commissioned this, but I do not remember the artist. But this is, like, I was like, damn, dude. Like, this. I was like, oh, hey, yo, hello. It's, yeah, Puppet Hill and Stella. And it is, like, I'm like, damn, bro, that's the energy. That's the energy that we need. You can make him shirtless and it would be fine. Like, you can make him shirtless and it's still there, right? Like, I'm okay with him being shirtless. I'm okay with, like, him, you know, being a little bit more risque, because nothing's happening, right? I'd read this manhwa. Yeah, like, I wish I could remember the artist's name. I didn't write it down. But because this was commissioned off of Skeb, I believe. But it's a really great piece, and I still think it's so good. There's other Puppet Hill had a lot of ship art. Like there's one with Roy. Hang on. Roy Kyoto as well. He had a lot of ship art. That's one thing that Owl Hill doesn't have quite yet, is there's not a lot of ship art of Owl Hill. But yeah, there was, yeah, Roy Kyoto and Puppet Hill had a sordid history. But yeah, good to know, making mental notes. Look, I'm just saying, if Owlborg art ever happens, he would never admit this, but Fuchan would be pleased. Like, I feel like he'd be like, "Fuck yeah, bro." Like, that's, yeah. I'm just saying. Owlborg, it's a thing. If you're an old school fan, if you're a viewer who's been around, like Matt, I know, and I don't know if Zup is here today, but if you're an old school fan, you'll know that's like the OG. That's the old school. That's an old school. That's Owlborg is very much an old ship, but from a different time. From a different universe. It was beautiful once. Anyway. We got very far off topic. On the topic of, now what about the topic of self-cessed ships? Alter egos, alt sonas, AUs. Okay, controversial opinion. I actually think self-cessed is fine. I've seen people get like salty about it. And to me, I think it's fine. I'm I'm fine with it. I'm one of those weirdos who, like, my first doujin was actually about, the first doujin I ever read was a Kingdom Hearts doujin about Roxas and Sora. So that one I'm actually pretty okay with. Depends on the self-cess scenario, but of course I do like it too. That's how I feel. Like, I think it's fine. I think it just depends. All of the clones from Star Wars have ships with other clones. Like, that's kind of like what I mean. It's one of those, like, it kind of is almost like, it really depends on the situation. What's a character who being shipped with anyone gives you the ick? Mine is mine is Palpatine. Okay, that's fine. Sheev Palpatine. A character who being shipped with anyone gives me the ick. I don't like... I'm trying to think of like an Arrow Ace character, but I don't like when people ship... Oh, I really don't like when people ship Alistair with other people, or like draw smutty art of Alistair with other people when it's very much confirmed he's Arrow Ace. Again, I am kind of tempted to watch the show strictly because we get so few Ace reps in fandom, and I fucking love Alistair, even though I'm not a big Has-Been Hotel guy. I just love that character so much. And I really don't like when I see ship art of him with other characters. It gives me the extreme ick. Because it's very dismissive. B looks over at Doppio and Doom. Daddy doo. If I knew how to draw, I'd be making Owl Hill and Puppet Hill art right now. See, now that's a ship right there. See, now that's the true ship. Does shipping crossover in different fandom, but doesn't have to be romantic like Doom Guy and Isabel? Yeah, like, it's something that we can go over in another shipping lecture, but yeah, shipping doesn't inherently have to be romantic. In fact, I'd say Doom Guy and Isabel is such a good example of, like, people just love the dynamic between those two characters. Like, Doomguy and Isabel are just so friggin' cute. Like, it's just nice to see those two characters together, because it's like this monster who would rip through the very nature and realm of hell itself. And then there's Doomguy. No, but like Doomguy and Isabel are just very cute. So many mental notes to take today. Oh my goodness. Any last questions? Any last second questions before we wrap up our lecture? Because I am keeping you a little bit late today. So any last second questions? I also like Incineroar and Isabel. They're like the dog and kitten from Looney Tunes cartoons, but reversed. Oh, that's such a good point. They actually are a lot like the dog and cat from Looney Tunes. Yeah, I can see that. Smash Bros is like a good place for just like, I just like those two characters together. They're just really cool. I was a fool to think that I would be able to fall asleep to this. I was gonna say, Essie's still here. I thought you'd be asleep. This lecture was fun. I'm glad to hear it. I'm glad to hear that you guys had a good time. All right, since there seems to be no further questions, I think we will wrap up our lecture for today with that. I really appreciate you guys hanging out. I hope you guys have a lovely rest of your day. Make sure you do your homework, which, of course, Stella said you have to watch. She's expecting a full report on Banana Fish and Nana on her tombstone about a week from now. So yeah, make sure you do your homework. Otherwise, the ghost of Stella Luna will haunt your dreams, and not in like a cool Ghostbusters way, in like a scary way. But yeah, have a lovely rest of your day, everybody, and I will see you guys next time. Bye bye.